If you are hearing a ringing, buzzing, or high-pitched sound in your ears right now, stop and pay attention. Because what you are about to hear could explain why that sound hasn't gone away yet, and why, for many people, it actually becomes louder over time. Most people are told to ignore it, to live with it, or that it's just part of getting older. But what researchers have been discovering paints a very different picture, and understanding this could change how you think about tinnitus forever. The first thing you need to understand is that the ringing you hear is often not coming from your ears anymore. The ears may have triggered the process, but the sound itself is usually being generated inside the brain. When the auditory system stops receiving perfectly balanced signals, the brain responds by increasing sensitivity, trying to compensate for what it believes is missing information. That compensation creates phantom sound. At first, it feels small, almost harmless. Maybe you only hear it at night, maybe only in silence. But the brain does something dangerous without you noticing. It starts learning the signal. The brain is built to learn patterns. Anything repeated enough times becomes automatic. That's how habits form, how skills develop, and how certain sensations become permanent. This process is called neuroplasticity, and when it comes to tinnitus, neuroplasticity can work against you. Every day that ringing continues, the brain becomes more familiar with it, more efficient at reproducing it, and more likely to keep it running in the background. That's why many people say the ringing slowly went from occasional to constant. It wasn't random, the brain was adapting. Now think about what most people do when this starts. They try to cover the sound with music, white noise, or background audio. Others try random supplements or quick fixes they find online. Some even avoid silence completely. And while those methods may provide temporary comfort, they rarely change what the brain is actually doing. The signal is still there, the loop is still active, and over time, the brain continues reinforcing it. Researchers connected to Harvard have discussed something that many people never hear in normal conversations about tinnitus. They suggest there may be a limited period where the brain is still flexible enough to calm this abnormal auditory activity more easily. During this phase, the neural circuits are active but not deeply locked. Once more time passes, the pattern can become more stable, which is why people who wait often struggle longer to find relief. That's why timing shows up repeatedly in research conversations, because the earlier someone understands what's happening, the better their chances of changing the outcome. If you're watching this right now, chances are the ringing is already affecting more than just your ears. It affects focus, it affects sleep, it makes quiet moments uncomfortable. Even when you try to relax, your attention keeps returning to the sound. The frustrating part is that you can't escape your own brain. That's why many people start feeling anxious or exhausted. They don't realize the brain is locked in a feedback loop that needs to be interrupted, not ignored. What researchers are focusing on now is not simply blocking the sound, but supporting the systems that regulate how the brain processes auditory information. When neural balance improves, when overstimulation is reduced, and when the auditory pathways calm down, the brain may gradually reduce the intensity of the phantom signal. This is a completely different way of thinking about tinnitus. Instead of fighting noise with noise, it focuses on helping the brain stop generating the noise in the first place. This is also why two people with similar symptoms can have very different outcomes. The person who understands what's really happening and acts early often reports changes faster. The person who waits, hoping it fades on its own, may unknowingly train the brain to keep the signal active longer. And once that pattern is deeply learned, changing it requires more time and effort. That's why researchers emphasize awareness instead of delay. There is a detailed presentation that explains this entire brain-based process step by step, including what may be triggering the ringing, why common approaches fail to address the root cause, and what specific strategies some people are using to support auditory and neural balance naturally. Many people say this explanation finally made everything click for them, because for the first time, they understood why nothing else seemed to work. If you truly want to understand what might be happening inside your brain and why the ringing keeps showing up, you should watch that full presentation carefully. It goes deeper into the science, the mechanism, and the reasons some people see improvement while others stay stuck in the same cycle. The link is in the description of this video, and watching it from beginning to end is important because the key explanation comes later, not at the start. You don't have to accept the ringing as permanent just because it has been there for a while, but you also shouldn't ignore it or assume time alone will fix it. The brain responds to the signals you give it, and the sooner you understand those signals, the sooner you can decide what to do next. If the sound is still there tomorrow, your brain is still running the same pattern. The question is whether you will continue waiting or finally learn what people are doing differently to calm the noise and move towards silence again.